Civil disobedience. When leaders act contrary to conscience, we must act contrary to leaders. Civil disobedience. What is civil disobedience? Well, it is the active, professed refusal to follow certain laws, demands, or commands of a government or of a ruling power. But when is it ever necessary to use civil disobedience? Well, let's just consider a few examples of when civil disobedience was used. First off, we'll start with the nation of India, which up until 1947 was not a sovereign nation. Rather, it was ruled by the British Empire. But, through acts of civil disobedience, non-cooperation, and economic resistance, individuals of the nation of India were able to be liberated, able to free themselves, as it were, and become their own sovereign nation. The people of India had been oppressed by the British Empire, so much so that it had come to the point where they had had enough, and it had become time for a change. Another example. Prior to the Civil War, runaway slaves were helped along their route to the north by often persons who were white, but individuals who didn't know them. Now, harboring a slave, an escaped slave from the South, was illegal. But these individuals who helped these slaves valued more the life of another person and the freedom that that person should enjoy than laws that were made that they did not feel were just. Third, African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement protested, marched, and sat in with the aim of outlawing racial discrimination and restoring the rights of blacks to vote in southern states. Now, these three reasons, although different, all shared something in common. There was an unjust thing that was going on. So what happened? Well, individuals got angry. They changed their situation by means of civil disobedience. The difference between civil disobedience and other acts of anarchy or just unhappiness with your government is that civil disobedience does not include acts of violence, but rather, pacifists use civil disobedience as a means to cause change. So why should you promote civil disobedience? Well, consider this. Do you really think that your one vote counts? In an election where thousands and thousands, millions even, vote, how much is your one vote worth? How much is your one vote worth without you contributing anything to the campaign of the persons running? Well, sadly, it's worth very, very little. Or how about this? Are you struggling to feed your family? When is the last time that you went into the grocery store and you felt good when you were leaving, knowing that you had gotten a good deal? You had just gotten your money's worth. It's probably been a while. Or what about when you receive your paycheck at the end of the week? When you see it, do you feel that your hard work has really been paid off? Or do you look at your check and you wonder to yourself, well, how am I going to pay my bills with this? What about for those of you perhaps watching this video who may not have originally been from the United States of America, but rather you originated from a foreign country? Should you feel afraid to walk the street? Is that fair? To everyone. Who else is going to pick the vegetables that we, as Americans, can't afford? Well, when it comes to considering matters of immigration, you may want to think about that. So then, what do you have to do? Well, you have to stand up. You have to be heard. The saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, proves true in life. If we never stand up to those who are in power, to those whose lives are easy, to those who can afford the finer things of life, to those who live for nothing more than to step over persons like you and I, you must be heard. So will you fight? Will you fight for your family, your wives, your children? Will you stand up and will you occupy? When will your bailout come? Well, if you never stand up to fight, then it never will. As a man once said, you're not supposed to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who says it.